Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's discussion on historical newspapers, where we're supposed to pull some sources from ProQuest, digital newspapers from the online library. I chose to do the assassination of John F. Kennedy. I am studying the city of Texarkana, my hometown, to do a lot of my dissertation research on, as it relates to crime and things like that from 1873 to 1973. However, in 1960, September of Democratic nominee John F. Kennedy did do a campaign stop here on the courthouse steps. I had a grandfather who was present at it, and I wanted to just kind of cover the assassination, but of course, it does relate to John F. Kennedy and kind of my hometown. And I've always been super interested in the assassination. I've read tried to read everything I could find on it. Probably have owned 50 to 100 books on it, which is just this dent in what's been written. But I did choose a few articles. And I would want to give this talk to like a local historical society here in town in Texarkana as it relates to his campaign stop here, and then of course later on his assassination about 3 years later. So a couple of the articles that I chose were from George Lardner Jr. that has to do with the House Select Committee on Assassinations from the mid to late 1970s. Excuse me. This committee was basically set up to examine the findings of the Warren Commission that initially investigated the case about a little over a decade earlier, and they actually came up with a result far different than the Warren Commission, in that that there probably was a conspiracy to kill the president that has to do with Lee Harvey Oswald or not, or he was working with others in an overall plan to assassinate JFK. So that's two articles, and they're both from Washington Post. They basically just do a big result in the findings of their committee. And those are both very interesting. A third one that I chose is from an assassination researcher and a military historian, Jefferson Morley, and as well as John Newman. And this is from the early to mid 90s, right after the JFK Records Act was released by President Clinton, and thousands and thousands of records became declassified from the JFK assassination. There's still a few thousand that are still classified today. However, this is from this particular article. Basically, just relates to how the JFK assassination did start a terror in America that still exists today because of the JFK assassination and the distrust in government, which I thought was very interesting. And a fourth one was, which I also found was interesting, a study by an intelligence agency in the United States on how Cuba was building up arms and military post-assassination of JFK in Cuba to ward off any invasion from America that might be a retaliation for the assassination, which some may look at that as if they were guilty, or they were just thinking that they maybe looked at as guilty from Americans from having possibly done it. And another piece that I would bring up in the speech would be a newspaper which which my father gave me. President assassinated, Castro sympathizer held. So part of this, this is original from the Texarkana Gazette. Part of this, I would point out that they called Lee Harvey Oswald a Castro sympathizer as soon as he was arrested, and part of this, I think, was a point to maybe perhaps call him and maybe blame Cuba over this and justifications of invasion, things like that, and that has to do with that article. And you can also notice the date on here, which is not correct. It's November 23rd, 1961, and the assassination obviously occurred on the 22nd of 63. But it was a typo, and there was over 200 at the Gazette. This is from that actual day, but it's just a typo. There was over 200 from the Gazette that was misprinted. My dad actually had one and gave it to me. So just found that interesting. Thank you.